2022-2023 season, arguably, Real Madrid was best in Europe on their way to their conquest, beating Bayern Munich and also beating Man City and some of the great teams they beat in that particular season. Fast forward, the new season has become very, very more challenging for Real Madrid. And today we're going to look at some of the challenges and why they're facing all these challenges now. Signing Kylian Mbappé, arguably the world's best player, quote unquote, won the World Cup at a very, very tender age, 18 years, and booming with a lot of massive talent, undeniable talent that every footballer knows that this young man has enough talent. But he was supposed to light up the whole Real Madrid team, a very successful team, remember. But ever since his inception into Los Blancos, or Los Merengues, they call them, Real Madrid, his season has been so far not going well. His form, he hasn't been able to replicate the same form he was at Ligue 1. And then a lot of question his signing. Was he the right signing for Real Madrid? Did they actually needed to sign him? Remember, 2 seasons ago, he was supposed to have signed for Madrid, and he opted to stay in Paris Saint-Germain for that 2 seasons. And so fast forward, with Karim Benzema going, Real Madrid playing Vinicius Jr. for 1 more season, and then Kylian Mbappé joining this formidable team. They lost Kroos, but the team hasn't been the same ever since Kylian joined the team. So what are the problems? First of all, Ancelotti is one of the problems. Because you have to look at Carlo Ancelotti. He's the man in the helm of affairs. Obviously, he needs to look at the tactics he's playing. And so I just think that Ancelotti is one of the problems that Madrid are facing now. Of course, he's endowed with a lot of vast experience. He knows how to manage players. He's been there, AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Everton. So in terms of experience, Carlo has enough experience. So why is he this time facing a lot of uphill tasks at Real Madrid in this current season, where he's supposed to actually have a very, very effortless season with Kylian Mbappé, such a massive talent, joining the likes of Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Jude Bellingham, Valverde, Lucas Vazquez, Carvajal, Alaba, Militao, Rudiger, Arda Güler, and all these talents that are there, Brahim Diaz, Courtois. So, I mean, you look at the talent, and this is a massive talent, great, brilliant talents there, but they're not really flowing the way they're supposed to flow. I think the first thing is look at Ancelotti, the tactics he played last season compared to the tactics he's tried to play this season. First of all, I think tactically, Ancelotti has got it wrong because he's tried to play a 4-3-3 system this season, trying to play Rodrigo on the left, Rodrigo on the right, Kylian Mbappé in the middle, and then, of course, Vinicius Jr. on the left. And then he's played Jude more deeper in the middle, and then Valverde and whoever he pairs with, Tchouaméni or Camavinga, as 3 midfielders across. Then he plays the 4 backs. So this is one of the things that, for me, I think is changed the dynamics of the team. First of all, he's got the wrong tactics because last season he played a 4-4-2, but with a diamond, in a shape of 4-2-3-1. So it actually worked in that sense that you had Jude right behind the strikers. So Jude always what we call arrival in the box. So usually he's on the top of the diamond where he arrives in the box. Hence his goal tallies last season, scoring over 20 plus goals. And then aiding Real Madrid to be able to go into those 2 competitions and be much more successful. So those are 2 of the main factors as well. Then you have to look at, if he switches to a 4-3-3, it becomes a very, very flat 4-3-3. And then who's creating in the middle? Jude is playing more deeper. And then that becomes one of the blocks because he's not closer to the goal line. Now, you have to look at the omission of Toni Kroos. This guy set the tempo how Madrid plays, whether they go fast, whether they go slow, whether the tempo should, the direction of the game should go on the left or on the right. So he sets the tempo. He slows the game down, go fast, or however Madrid has to play. It has to be Toni Kroos. He sets the tempo. Now, Toni Kroos, of course, he retired last season, as we all know, as a great legend, a former player of Bayern Munich, but became more and more successful with Real Madrid. And so he's become a club legend. All the midfielders we've spoken about Valverde, we've spoken about Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, Ceballos, all these midfielders we've spoken about, Arda Güler, none of them are dictating the pace like Toni Kroos did. Toni Kroos takes one touch of a pass that it will take about 4 to 5 players to do that. And so in simple terms, what 5 or 6 players do, Toni Kroos does that with one pass. So that, first of all, is one of the biggest problem Madrid are beginning to adopt after Toni Kroos. And all you see is they're passing the ball side to side. And so when they start playing the ball side to side, then you have the forwards, Kylian Mbappé and Vinicius and Rodrigo are forced to come back into the midfield to carry the ball. And so when they do that, the team loses that attack, the potency of the attack, because they can't punctuate that attack, because obviously they have to drop more back and cover more grounds in going for it again. Whereas with one pass from Toni Kroos, splitting pass, they're able to open their opponents up just like that. So now that's become one of the problems. Nobody in the team so far has been able to stand that position or take control of the games and perform what Toni Kroos was performing. So you've got that as the second problem. And then you've got the third problem with Kylian Mbappé. He's always played on the left side of attack. He's always played on the left side of the attack. And then he comes into a new team, Real Madrid, and he has to play through the middle because they want him to play more centre forward. Because with Vinicius Jr. on the left, probably the most decisive attacker on the left than Kylian Mbappé. And so you put him there, you don't want to put Kylian Mbappé in that left position because Vinicius can take players on, can create, can score from there as well, can occasionally also play through the middle when he has to. And so the short bet is to play Kylian through the middle. Kylian is not a striker in the middle, so to speak, or a proper centre forward. He's never liked that position. He always wants to be the second striker or play through the wide. And so that dilemma has to also settle with the team, or the team needs to come to terms with that dilemma because it's a new position for him to also adapt. So you've got Kylian trying to adapt to a new centre forward position as one of the problems. And then you have to look at the connection from the midfield in terms of the pass to find Kylian in the middle. That pass isn't there because there isn't no Toni Kroos. So if there's no Toni Kroos and the pass is not coming, that it means that, first of all, Real Madrid is in a transitional time, or the team is in transition, trying to find identity in terms of the midfield, who to dictate or pull the strings in the middle. And then you've got a Kylian Mbappé who's just joined the team and he has to adapt into a new position. So one, the team is adapting to the style of play. Kylian needs to adapt to his role as a centre forward. And then who to find him is also one of the biggest problems. So you look at the team now and you feel that the engine of the team is being let down as well. Tchouaméni is not doing that. He's not finding the centre forwards or the forwards or the attackers. And occasionally you have a feel that when Jude or Modric is on, then they find the attackers because they want to set the ball rolling as quickly as possible. So these are some of the problems that they're facing. And then you have to go back and look at the left back position. Up until this moment, Ferland Mendy hasn't been a very good player for Real Madrid this season because he's struggled throughout the whole season. He's become almost like the loose cannon of the team because he doesn't give anything going forward. All he does is just to defend. And even in defending so far this season, he's been very, very average. So should he be replaced with Fran Garcia? Which I think, yes. Fran Garcia gives you energy, he gives you width, and he gives you more in going for it as well. And he's able to defend. So this is another problem that Carlo Ancelotti needs to look at that as well. Then you have to look at the back line itself, the centre backs. Rudiger has become the most dominant defender at the back with presence. And occasionally, because the midfielders don't do the job in the midfield by sending those long passes, occasionally you will see Rudiger trying to run with the ball at the back and passing those long range 20 yards pass, either looking for Rodrigo or looking for Kylian or looking for Vinicius, because the midfielders are not doing that pass, and so their build-up is very, very slow. So that is one of the problems. And then you looked at his partner who's injured now and is out of the season, Militao. He was struggling this season as well. Alaba is on his recovery, and then so there's no consistency at the back. You've got Courtois also in the course of the season that got injured, came back, got injured, and he's finally recovered again as well. So you have those lapses at the back already. And with the midfield playing that bad in terms of not being able to dictate or pull those strings, it's causing a lot of problems in attack. So these are a few problems that the team has. You have, therefore, you need to look at the balance of the team. So this Real Madrid team has been successful in the last 10 years only because they've always found a way to find a balance. They've always found a way to find the balance. Now, one of the ways they've found the balance is always to make sure that the attackers they play, they always track back to be able to keep the shape of the team. Now, when you look at this particular team now, Kylian Mbappé doesn't track back. You have Arda Güler, who I think Arda Güler should be on loan now, because I think Arda Güler is not at the level to play for Madrid. Has he got the talent? Yes, he has got the talent, but he's not on the level in terms of his work ethics and the discipline he needs to play in the midfield. And I'll come back to that. But then you got Arda Güler, when he loses the ball against Liverpool, and then the course of the season, he's always trotting. He's always trotting. He's not sprinting. He's trotting. And that in itself, with Kylian not tracking back, with Arda Güler, when he plays with him also not putting in the shift, it means that the team has already lost 2 players. Whereas you've got Vinicius Jr., when he loses the ball, he tracks back more. Rodrigo tracks back more. Jude gives you enormous industrious work in the midfield, putting in the shift, going all tackles, all out. And then you've got these 2 players not putting that shift. So that also destabilizes the shape of the team and the balance of the team. Whenever the team goes that direction, when they have the ball, they will always be a good team in going forward. But this is what great team does. They have a way to defend and they know how to also attack. So this current Real Madrid team, they're losing a lot of goals. A lot of goals are going into their net because they are not defending enough. Because in the attacking position, you don't see Kylian tracking back, doing that job. And then in the midfield as well, you don't see players like Arda Güler putting in the shift. Yes, Tchouaméni would do this. Yes, Camavinga will do this, but these players are not doing that particular job in the middle. So that destabilizes the team. Modric is about 38 to 39 years, but he always tracks back when he loses the ball. So that gives the team that balance. When Kroos was there, whenever he lost the ball, he would track back to play in the midfield, in defending, to keep the team the balance. So they can afford to make you have the ball because they know that they know how to defend as a team as well. And because Real Madrid knows how to defend as a team as well, they always knew how to also attack. But this current team is struggling in defending because Kylian Mbappé is not tracking back. When you play Arda Güler, he's not tracking back. And then thirdly, you also have a system that is also not being, take the ball in terms of the passing and finding the attackers. So now you have these attackers who are struggling to get the final ball, and then you also have the midfielders in the middle who are not creating much and playing more side-to-side passes rather than being more direct passes or splitting passes. So the team's effectiveness is they are abusing their energy, they're overusing their energy because now they need to think more on what to do with the ball. So that has halted this Real Madrid team in terms of fluidity. Of course, these are great players and talented players and some of the world's best players, if not the world's best players. They can always carry the ball with talent, create chances, take on defenders, and show sublime skills and, do some magical things with the ball. But as a team, the team is a very, very disjointed team. Hence why AC Milan was able to come to Madrid in the Bernabeu, a fortress of Real Madrid, and beat Real Madrid 3-1. And not just beat them 3-1, also dominate Madrid at the fortress 3-1. So it was no surprise Madrid come to Anfield. Liverpool are in great form. Anfield is always a lion's den to go into. Thirdly as well, if Liverpool were even having a bad season at Anfield, they will always want to turn up and show that, look, this is the atmosphere of football, one of the most fearsome stadiums to go to. So you've got Liverpool in a great season, already leading Premiership. They're leading the Premier League title. They're full of confidence. New manager, a lot of young players being challenged to play more. And also, it's at Anfield. And then you've got a disjointed Real Madrid team that goes to Anfield. What do you expect? You don't expect much. People say, well, if Kylian Mbappé has scored a penalty. Look, Real Madrid, like I said, they can afford to make you half the ball. And they know that even if they have the ball for 10, 15 minutes in first half or second half, they know that they can make it count. But throughout that game, you realize that they couldn't hold the spot. They couldn't even keep the ball. These are reasons and fact that what is broken in the team is not the fact that they can't score. What is actually broken in the team is the fact that the midfield itself can't find their attackers with a pass. And it's as simple as that. Hence why the team is disjointed. People say, well, lack of injury, because of the injuries and the lack and the quality. Nah, I don't think so. Yes, when these players are back, they beef up the team, they give the team more width. I strongly believe if Rodrigo and Vinicius had played, it would have been a different game, maybe against Liverpool. However, Liverpool are more solid as a team currently than to Real Madrid for various reasons. Because, you look at the game they played against Liverpool, and it highlights these problems that we are talking about Madrid facing throughout this season, including the AC Milan game. Kylian was supposed to play through the middle. He played on the left side of midfield. There was no Madrid attacker through the middle. So you had Van Dijk, Konate playing high line. And then because they were playing high line, the midfielders, the McAllisters and the Moors, all these players pushed Real Madrid close to their 18 line. So they pressed them on that particular line. And when they tried to play from the back, it became more difficult for them to get out of the back. And so it highlights that nobody has that pass that also says the attack is going. And it was highlighted between those two games against AC Milan and also against Liverpool. So why did I say Ancelotti is one of the problems? I think Ancelotti is being overly loyal to certain players. There are a lot of players in the squad now at the moment that, if not because of loyalty, they should be playing. Lucas Vazquez, we all know he's not a right back because of Carvajal's injury, and he's slotting in the right back. But he's a very, very loose in the right back. When he goes forward, yes, he's a good winger because naturally he was a winger and he is a winger. And so him defending is almost like -1. So you don't have that tightness already in the right back position. And so that is also a missing position already for Madrid. And then you've got left back Ferland Mendy, who I think Ancelotti is being overly loyal because he coerced Madrid to renew his contract. And so he has to justify why Ferland Mendy has to play. I must say last season, Ferland Mendy did well. So far this season, he has been out of the season so far up until this very moment. So if Ancelotti doesn't become too loyal and he's to select a winning Real Madrid side, I think he can still turn the season around because Endrick is ready. And so Endrick can play as a centre forward, and every time he plays, he gives the team energy. He runs, he tracks backs. He has all those qualities that a centre forward that plays for Real Madrid gives in terms of balance. So for me, if Kylian is not tracking back, if Kylian is lost form and you want him to regain his form, maybe 70 minutes in the season, in the game, 80 minutes, he has to be taken out for, obviously, Endrick to go on, to give you that, that energy up front and to also push the forward line and to be able to track back and put in that shift. And so that's one of the problems. Ancelotti is being too loyal to certain players in the squad. And so that is what is creating the problem for Madrid. Coupled with the balance of the team, because obviously for that team to get that balance, they need to be able to attack well, they need to be able to defend well. And so if the team is attacking well and they are not defending well, there is a problem. Kylian Mbappé as a player, he's adapting to a new league. Let's not forget, Ligue 1, the French league, is not of the same quality as La Liga, because La Liga is a more tougher league than the Ligue 1. And so he has to adapt to the tempo of the league, because in La Liga, there's a lot of technical players who, can control the ball, very skillful. They move the ball very quicker. And then the quality of players in the La Liga generally is higher and more than Ligue 1. And so he has to adapt to the league. And also he also has to adapt to the fact that this is Real Madrid. Wherever they put you in that team, the starting lineup, you need to learn to adapt to that position. So I just believe that if you play Kylian on the left, he's not going to be more decisive, more effective than Vinicius Jr. Simple as that. Vinicius is more effective on the left than Kylian. So Kylian, it's hard time he learns how to adapt into that central position and adapt well, or quicker and faster. So he's adapting to a new league. He also needs to adapt to his new position. Then Real Madrid also needs the midfielders to find them with the pass, with just one touch or one pass, finding these centre forwards. So these highlights the problem that their season has been so far. What most great team does is not when they concede goals. They know they can always concede goals. But because they know the engine of the team works, they know they can always have their moments and they can equalize or win games, even though they concede goals. This Real Madrid team, when they concede goals, they are not able to come back currently because of some of these factors we're talking about. If Ancelotti wants to win, and if he has to avoid a sacking at the end of the season, I think he needs to change his loyalty level and select 11 squad member that can actually win the games, because this is Real Madrid. You need to win games. Other than that, you're out of the door. Already, we know for sure that Alonso, Bayern Leverkusen manager, is breathing down his neck. And he's only got one more season to go, and he can be at Real Madrid. And so Ancelotti has to be successful. And this is a very, very talented squad. He's got no excuses. He has to do the needful to be able to win this particular season. So, couple all these effects together, Ancelotti being overly loyal to certain players, one of the problems Madrid are facing. Also, the midfielders not finding those direct passes for their attackers, the second problem. Kylian Mbappé adapted into a new position, a new role, and a new league, adapting to all these factors is also the third problem. Then you've got to address the left-back position. Ferland Mendy needs to be on the bench now for Frank Garcia to start games now. Okay. And then you have to also look at the right back position. Lucas Vazquez, not good enough. Now centre back position seems okay with the young Asensio from La Fabrica, which is their youth team, who's been promoted to the senior team, who's done marvelously well so far. He's dealt with the pressure so far, and waiting for Alaba and the rest of the other centre backs to come in to join him. So if you address all these factors together, then you have to ask yourself, can this team turn Champions League around? At the moment, they only got 3 games more in the Champions League, and they have to win those games to be able to make it out of playoffs to go into the next stage. You have to ask yourself, can they turn it around? They can turn it around if Ancelotti address all these factors that we've spoken about here. So the pressure is on Ancelotti to be able to win, and most importantly, win away matches. Now, Bernabeu hasn't become a fortress this season. We've seen teams come to Bernabeu and beat them. Barcelona was there. Barcelona beat them. And then Real Madrid created all chances in the first half, lost in the second half. Barcelona performed massively well in the second half and won and beat them with a large margin of 4 goals. So you look at these factors, he can still turn the season around. But in turning around, he needs to select the right players to be able to turn the season around and not being loyal, but also finding that pass from the middle. This is very, very, very important. Arda Güler, like I said before, needs to be on loan. I think he needs to build more steel. He's a talented player. He knows how, in terms of skills, in terms of his feet, he has what it takes to play, but he hasn't got what it takes to be able to also defend. And this is a very young 19-year-old, not even 20 yet. 19-year-old to just about to 20 years. And he's not tracking back enough. It doesn't give that team the balance. Also, if you look at, should Madrid go 4-3-3 like Ancelotti is doing, that means that at some point, it becomes very, very flat in the middle. And so if he doesn't go 4-3-3 and he goes 4-2-3-1, who sits on the bench? This was the argument we all argued before the start of the season, and Carlo has managed so far to play Rodrigo, Vini, and Mbappe to press opponents down with their pace and skill and movement up front to mesmerize opposition teams. So far, he hasn't really clicked in. Maybe at some point in the season it will begin to work, but so far not. So if that's the case and he has to win games, then at some point he needs to go or revert back to the tactics he played last season, 4-2-3-1. And if he plays 4-2-3-1, who sits on the bench? Kylian is not firing too much. Rodrigo knows the team. He knows his movement in the team. Do you bench Kylian? A player signed by Florentino Perez? A player he's quoted for the last 4 years and almost signed last 2 seasons, and finally he's arrived at his dream club, the club he said he's always dreamed of. Do you put him on the bench? So these are the hard lines that Madrid needs to actually address. Can they win La Liga? I believe so. I think this Barcelona team are not too strong. They play very, very well, but they're not really a strong team in terms of depth, but they have massive talent, and I think a little bit of experience might cost them. At the moment, Real Madrid have closed them down and they've got a game in hand. Barca lost as well. So they could actually overtake them, should all these factors that we've spoken about be addressed. The balance of the team, the midfielders finding those attackers with a single pass, and then the attackers also, especially Kylian Mbappé, and midfielders like Arda Güler also put in the shift to keep the balance of the team. If they're able to do this, game done, for sure Real Madrid are ready to go for a new season. So you have to put these factors into place, because if not, the season is going to be a very, very struggling one. And with Kylian, if they struggle, it will be very, very disappointing with Kylian. So the way forward, Ancelotti needs to fix himself by being overly loyal to certain players. He needs his attackers to track back and put in the shift, especially in this case, Kylian Mbappé. He needs Arda Güler and the rest of the midfielders to be able to also put in a shift to keep the balance. He needs to address the left-back position for Mendy, who I think should be on the bench for Fran Garcia to play. The right back position, Lucas Vazquez doesn't seem like he's the right back that needs to play. He needs to look into the youth team and perhaps promote another player and give him a chance so they can also show what they've got. If they're able to do this, then we know for sure there's going to be a balance in this Real Madrid team. And that, if that happens, then, they can shout again and say, Hala Madrid. Anyway, it's been great talking to you. Football Thoughts 360. Subscribe on YouTube. Thank you.